I keep meeting alumni who can't stop talking about how wonderful Hobie is, and it was apparent for me, because I'm only at Hilbert for about 2 years, it was apparent to me after only about 2 weeks of being here what a special person she was, if not for the fact that every license plate says Hobie, and she often drives her great Corvette into Hilbert, which hopefully you saw on the flyer. So anyway, Hobie's someone we all know and love, and we're grateful to have her today. Let's give a round of applause and welcome Hobie.
Thank you for inviting me. When Jeff first came over, he says, hey, we're doing this Agape Latte thing, and we're looking for people who suggested that maybe you would come and talk, and I'm going like, oh, yeah, okay, I talk in the classroom all the time, so no big deal, right? And I said, well, what do you want me to talk about? And he said, well, talk about you, your life, and everything. And I'm going like, oh, what a piece of cake. I can talk about my jobs, okay, criminal justice, I can talk about my car, I can talk about all these cool things. And then I thought about it, and I said, but those things aren't me. Those are jobs, those are things, those are parts of my life. And I started looking back, and I said, but what made me what I am? So I'm going to take it back a little bit. It's going to be a little different than Jim's speech, because we're going to go back before I was born. All right? Because obviously, what made me what I am and how I act and how I believe was Mom and Dad. So go back ages and ages and ages and ages, okay? Very young couple, John and Mary, okay? Get married, okay? In the Catholic Church, they get married, going to start a life, going to raise a family. Wow, this is going to be great. 6 months after they get married, they're thinking about, okay, where are we going to live? Do we want to buy a house? Do we want to rent? World War II. Ever hear of World War II? Okay, well, probably not, all right? But my dad got drafted. And away he went. Goodbye, honey. Okay, they're sending me to Germany to fight the bad guys. Dude, okay, no house, no apartment, no children. Everything's put on hold, right? So Dad was over there for 3.5 years, all right? And obviously I wasn't born yet, but my mom showed me the letters and things that they used to write back and forth to each other. And there was no cell phones, there were no hard lines. He's in a foxhole covered with mud, people shooting at him, and she's back here in the States. And Mom always told me that basically this was where she really started to develop her faith. Okay? Because she said she would pray every night for my dad's safe return. And she would hear about other people whose husbands or brothers or sons were getting killed in the war. And she would write to my dad and say, I'm praying for you every night. And he would write back to her, I love you, I miss you. I'm praying for you too, that you're okay by yourself over there. Because I'm millions of miles away and I can't do anything to help you if anything goes wrong. So after 3.5 years, Dad comes home, okay? Made it, got wounded, got a silver star and a Purple Heart, but he came back. Needless to say, wow, okay, now we're going to start our life, all right? Let's have some kids. Let's have a family, right? Well, Mom had a heck of a time having children. Back then, before your parents were probably even born, when I was conceived, typically if a baby was born with an issue, they didn't have the technology, they didn't know what to do, and my mom had a couple of miscarriages. And when she finally got pregnant with me, she said that she turned to her faith again, and basically said, Lord, let me keep this baby, let me have this baby. I want her or him, and they didn't have sonograms, they didn't have ultrasounds, they didn't have anything. So you were pregnant, and it was like, okay, we don't know, boy, girl, 1, 2, who knows? It's going to be a surprise. Well, the surprise was that I was born with yellow jaundice and an Rh negative factor. And back then, the only thing they could do to save the baby was to give them a complete blood transfusion. I still have the scar on my ankle where they had the big needle stuck in me, and they transfused my blood. And my mom said that they brought me to her on a pillow. And she said I was about 6 pounds. She said I looked like a little rag doll with this huge needle in my ankle and this blood being transfused. And again, she turned to her faith, and she asked one of the nurses if she would put her in a wheelchair and take her to the chapel to say a prayer. And the nurse was nice enough, and my mom said that she prayed again. She says, you brought John home safe for me. Dear Lord, give me this little girl. I really want this little girl to be okay. And they took her back, they put her in the bed, and they said, okay, we're gonna put the baby in what was apparently intensive care in those days, nothing like it is now. And they didn't give her back, basically didn't give me back to her for like 48 hours. And she said she felt for sure that I had died. And she was so distraught. And she said she prayed again. She said, Lord, if you ever give me anything in life, give me this little girl. Ta-da! 72 hours later, they bring me back, okay, no needle, no blood transfusion, starting to get a little bit of color, not yellow anymore. Literally, she told me the whites of my eyes were yellow. She said it was blue and horrible looking. Starting to get a little color. They basically said she's going to be okay, all right, but we're going to keep her here a couple more days. We're going to keep you here. It's not like today you have the baby, you go home the next day. So as I started growing up, obviously, I was getting that idea of that my mom had a very strong faith, and my dad had a very strong faith. That they had gotten through a war, they had gotten through this crisis of almost losing a child, and now they were starting a family. One of the things my mom did, she told me, when Dad was in the war, was that she was here and she still had to make a living. And I always asked her, I said, well, what did you do? I said, back in those days, what did women do? Okay, if you weren't like a school teacher or a waitress, there wasn't much. But where were all the guys? They were all fighting the war, right? So what did the women do? The women took over all the guys' jobs. I can't blow this up, but this is a picture of what my mom did during the war. She was a riveter building planes for Curtiss Wright aircraft. And these were the planes that they were sending over that our guys were flying in the Air Force to basically use in World War II. And you can see there's two women here, they basically, dressed up, and they were literally doing men's jobs. And I asked my mother about that when she told me as I grew up. I said, how did that feel? And she says, you did what you had to do. And she says she got that idea that, hard work, dedication, you'll do what you need to do. And I said, okay. So I think that's where I started getting the idea of, faith in God is important. I see that in Mom and Dad. And hard work pays off. So as I'm growing up, I was the only child. They weren't fortunate enough to have any other children, so I was a spoiled little kid. Although my mom says I wasn't rotten, I was just spoiled. Okay, they gave me everything they could. Catholic school, basically, for 12 years. All right, we know we have a faith, and I can remember, every holy day, every Sunday, Mom, Dad, and I at Mass. And in those days, the Mass was in Latin, and it was like, what's he saying? And the priest had his back to you, so you'd hear and see this, and you're what? Okay, and it was like, why are we here? Especially thinking, okay, I'm this tiny little kid. I can remember getting ready for like my first Holy Communion, and you never saw hardly the priest. His back was always to you. He was talking in Latin, and then they're trying to teach you to say prayers and everything. I'm going, why doesn't he turn around? My mother says that's not the way it is, and I said, oh, okay, I can deal with this. But basically, that started developing my faith. And as I grew older, I went to school, and typically, they always ask you, what do you want to be when you grow up, right? Well, my mother was a probation officer. So she's this little lady about as big as me, carrying this gun around, dragging all these bad guys into court that violate probation. So when I'm in school, I'm like, 11, 12 years old, and we would have like a teacher's conference, or we'd have a holiday, and Mom would say, would you like to go to work with me? Yeah, okay, let's see what you do. And I would watch her doing this stuff, and I'd be these big old guys, and she would say, sit down, and they'd go, okay. No problem, man, don't hurt me, okay? And probably by the time I was 10 or 11 years old, I knew I want to be a cop. This is what I want to do. And my mother says, no, you don't want to do that. Yes, I do. I want to be a police officer. She said, thinking, she'd tell my dad said, nah, she'll outgrow that, she'll do something else. She doesn't know guns, no. Okay, so I go through high school, I still have that same idea, but I was a pretty good student. And I went to what is now unfortunately defunct Immaculata Academy when it was in its heyday, and I did well. Again, you basically get the religion classes, you go and you get confirmation, and you're learning basically more and more about your faith. And again, still now, okay, things are starting to change through the years. Eventually, guess what? The priest now turns around. Hi, guys, I can see you there. The Mass starts becoming in English, like, oh, wow, okay, now I understand what's going on. So Mom and Dad basically very supportive, saying, okay, you know, what have you decided? Well, maybe not be a cop. I'm not so sure. And Dad's going, thank God, I don't want her to be a cop. So I wind up getting into the 4-H, which is something you've probably never heard of, but it has to do a lot with animals and agriculture. So by the time I was like 12 or 13, I had my first pony, okay, and I would go to the horse shows with the pony, and I would show the pony, and I would ride the pony, okay, and I would have all the little attire. And that kind of progressed, and I got more horses, and we bought some property out in Evans, and we had our horses there, kind of a little farm thing. And I did that for a couple of years. And I really got enthused about working with the animals. So by the time I graduated high school, I had a scholarship to go to Cornell for veterinary medicine. Mom and Dad are going, yes, a doctor in the family, okay, even if it's just a veterinarian. So time comes, okay, you graduated, yay, congratulations, you're off to Cornell, you got a scholarship, you're going to be a veterinarian, you're going to be taking care of horses. No. What do you mean, no? I don't want to go. What? What do you mean you don't want to go? Okay, I don't want to leave Mom and Dad. But I'm spoiled and I'm dependent and I'm not going to go. Well, needless to say, Mom and Dad just about had a heart attack. Well, what are you going to do? I don't know. I'll find a job and do something, okay? You can go. You can do it. No. All right, so now I'm 18, I've graduated. I'm not going to Cornell because I decided that's not what I'm going to be. I'm sure Mom and Dad did a lot of praying about that one. Please, Lord, change your mind. Please, let her go. Go, get out of the house, you know. All right, but, you know, I guess God doesn't answer every prayer because I didn't go. So I got a couple, job, typical like 18-year-olds. I worked at McDonald's for a while, okay. And I got back into the idea of I want to be that police officer. I'm going back to that. And, you know, my mom's going, oh, this is all my fault. You know, I took her to work all those times. She saw me, you know, and my father going, yes, it is. It's your fault. But Mom and Dad and I were very, very close. Very unique, our relationship. Everything was ours. It was our house. It was our cars. It was our money. I was the baby. They called me the baby till the very day either one of them passed away. And somebody would call and say, hey, what's the baby doing? Oh, she's out washing her car. Say, what? No? Okay. But I was always the baby. So I got back on this idea of, yeah, I think I'm interested in, I want to be a police officer. I definitely want to do that. So Mothers tells me, okay, look, you know, here's what you need to do. Take some of those civil service exams because that's the only way you're going to become a police officer. And I said, yeah, okay. And she would say, which I still tell my students, but they don't listen, get your foot in the door somewhere in the criminal justice system, and you can move around. But you got to get that first job. Okay, Mom, you're a good influence. I'll do whatever you say. So on every exam that came up, I would go. I would take everything that had to do with law enforcement, criminal justice, you name it. I'm there that Saturday, taking that exam. So the first thing I get is I am just turning 21, and I get called by Erie County to be a corrections officer. What is that? I don't know. I took the test. What does that mean? Okay. So they call me out for an interview, out to Wendy, the penitentiary out there. Okay, I'm 21, naive, spoiled. Okay, a little girl, never seen, been out like on the streets. And I'm walking in, and here's all these guys in uniforms and all these steel bars, and I'm going like, what? You want me to work in here? I don't know. But they interviewed me, and they hired me. And the first day, I had my little corrections officer uniform on. I walked in, and they slammed the gate behind me, and my heart stopped. I'm going, oh, the bad guys are in here. I can't get out. Now what do I do? Oh, Lord. Okay, very rude awakening, all right. At that time, female correction officers only worked with female inmates, so you didn't have the guys. But whole different variety of life experiences from these individuals that had been coming in, that had been arrested for drugs or prostitution or larceny, and hearing their life stories, and I'm going like, wow, this is like the whole other world. All right, So, okay, not a bad job, I'm happy, okay, things are good, life is good, mom and dad are good, okay, life is a go. A couple years later, I get a call from the sheriff's department. And the sheriff's department says, we would like to canvass you for a job as a deputy. Okay, I'm getting closer to that police job every step. I'm getting closer. Mom was right, just keep taking the tests. So I go and I start working for the Erie County Sheriff's Department. And the Erie County Sheriff's Department, basically you start out in the holding center, so I went from a jail to a jail. But then as you move on, you get promoted, so I wound up in transportation. Then I got the cushy job, I was a court deputy. Okay, you know, sitting there watching the judge, I'm like, this is really interesting and boring as hell. Okay, so I'm still hoping I'm gonna get that police, I wanna be that cop, I want it so bad I can taste it. So it comes along a couple years later, and I get a notice, it's probably like, I'd say February or March of 1979, before you were all born.
Wow.
Right?
Sorry about that.
Yes, I'm much older than you too. Okay? And it's from the New York State Police. And they're querying me for New York State Trooper. Oh my God, this is it. I'm gonna be a trooper. So you go through the whole thing, okay, fill out the thing, we're gonna do a background investigation. Okay, we do that, I send everything in. All right, okay, now you gotta come to Albany, you gotta do PTs, okay? You're gonna do boxing, I'm gonna do what? No, you gotta box for 3 months, okay? You gotta drag the dummy out of the car, what? Okay, I gotta drag the, and they put you through all of this testing. Okay, now that your tongue is hanging out, you're gonna go run that 1.5 miles. And I'm like, what? Okay, so I go through all of that, all right? And now I'm all excited. About a month later, I get a notice in the mail, you've been accepted, you're gonna start the academy in September. Oh my God, dream come true. Mom, Dad, I'm gonna be a state trooper. Think they're happy? Yes, they are. They are. They knew this is what I wanted, and you know, my dad, I can remember my dad telling me, he says, the look on your face when you opened that notice and said you were going to the academy, he says, was worth $1 million. He says, you were so happy, he says, you were just beaming. I said, this is what I always wanted to do. So, I'm getting all ready, right? Summer's coming along, I'm thinking about this, okay, let's see, what am I gonna do? I know I can come home on the weekends, but I'm gonna basically have to be there all week, okay, that's okay, Mom and Dad are here, they can, you know, they're gonna take care of each other, I got no problem, the dog is okay, Mom's gonna take care of the dog. So, I am sitting down, it is June 29th, 1979, and Mom's at work, Dad basically had retired about, I think about 3 or 4 months before that. Mom was gonna finish out that year and retire, and then they were gonna do some travel. They both had a lot of years in. Dad had, I believe, 35 years at Bethlehem Steel when he retired. Mom was getting toward her end, and they said, you know what, she's gonna go off and be a trooper, let's, you know, enjoy life a little bit. You know, we don't have any more kids, we got a couple bucks, let's take our pensions and maybe go a couple places. Okay. So, Mom's at work, Dad's sitting at the table. I said, hey, Pops, how about we have some lunch? Yeah, that would be good. Okay, so I'm making some lunch. I sit down at the table, I'm talking to Dad, and we're talking about everything with the troopers. And I said, boy, you know, I'm really excited. He said, you know, we're really happy for you. This is great. And I said, you know, life could not be better. This is just like, everything is perfect. And my dad looked at me, and he fell off the chair and hit the floor, and he never came to again. He passed right there on the floor, and he died. And everything in my life changed forever. Whoa, oh my God. Called Mom at work. Mom, Dad's on the floor, he's not breathing. I'm trying to give him CPR. They've got the EMS on the way. Never came back. My life changed, Mom's life changed. The whole world suddenly just stopped. Okay, trooper, who cares about that? Okay, who cares about anything? Mom was devastated. They had been married 38 years. Okay, this is the couple that survived World War II and everything else. And now, just when life was going to be good, and we were going to get together and travel and do something, nothing. So needless to say, that changed everything, all my plans. This is the curve that I was talking about when I said life throws you a curve. when you least expect it, it's like, yeah, okay, that's the end of that. Mom decided about 3 or 4 weeks after that she was going to retire then. She couldn't deal with going to work anymore and facing people. She was devastated. I can remember when we went to basically pick out the headstone for my dad and pick out a grave. We were like zombies. You didn't think, you didn't know. It was like, oh my God, is this real? It seems so surreal. My dad had a lot of friends from the war that were still alive. So Mom said, we're going to wake him for 3 days so that all of his friends could come in. By the end of 3 days, I didn't know what day it was. We were eating, we weren't sleeping. We were simply there talking to people, and they were telling you how sorry they were. So now, basically, okay, what do we do? Where do we go from here? What happens now? All right, well, obviously, again, okay, Mom, we've always had that faith in God. We're going to get through this. We're going to lean on each other, and we're going to make it through. And Mom said, okay. And I said, I'm not going to go to the academy. And she says, no, you need to do that. And I says, no, I can't. I can't leave you alone now, because I don't want to be alone, and I certainly don't want you to be alone for days at a time. So we prayed a lot, cried a lot. We buried Dad. When he used to write to my mom, he would always put this little heart on the letters coming from Germany, and it always said, my heart bleeds just for you. And I've still got those letters. Mom kept them all, so I kept them all. So guess what kind of headstone we got for Dad? A huge heart. Okay, we have a great big heart. And it says John, and it says Mary, and over here it says Mary Ann. So someday I will be with you. So faith comes along again, and okay, so you know what? I got the job with the Sheriff's Department. Okay, we're going to take care of each other. And secretly I'm praying, dear Lord, this was going to be so wonderful, this job. Can you do anything for me? And my mother would say, you can't pray for jobs and stuff like that. And I says, well, why? Why? I said, you told me ever since I was like this high, God listens to every prayer. May not answer them all the way you want, but he listens. August 15th, okay? Been a couple months, got through things. I get a letter in the mail from the Orchard Park Police Department. Gee, did I not pay my traffic ticket? What did I do? Right? And it says, you're on our civil service list for the job of police officer. Are you interested? Oh my God, where did that come from? You heard me, didn't you? You did, I know you did. Okay, so I go in, I go through the interview, I go through all the PTs and everything, and they said, do you want to come and be a police officer with the town of Orchard Park? And I talked to Mom, I says, Mom, God did hear my prayer. I didn't get to be a state trooper, but I wanted to be a police officer. And I'm going to be right here, and I'll still be with you every single day. And she says, you really think so? Yeah, I think he did. I think he heard my prayer. So I took the job with Orchard Park. Needless to say, I had a good career there. And what I thought was the end of what I wanted in life actually turned around to be something very good for me. And no one will ever convince me that God didn't intercede, that he didn't say, listen, this is what you want, we're going to find a way. You just take care of Mom, and you're going to be there. 20 years with Orchard Park. Again, the idea always of hard work, instilled by Mom and Dad, okay? Still my faith. Anybody that knows me knows I'm at 7 o'clock Mass every morning in Orchard Park. I've been doing that for close to 30 years. Now I come to 8 o'clock Mass on Thursdays because I love to hear Father Judd, okay? And I mean, he's just great, and he turns around and talks to us. He's not talking. But I really believe, I can't talk for anybody else other than me and my family, but I really believe that God does hear prayers. And even though sometimes you think like, oh my God, this is the end of the world for me, things work out. And I think he does intervene in our lives. And it may not be like, oh boy, dear Lord, give me an A on this test. But I think he's there. I think he does listen and hear things. That hard work ethic that I got from Mom, riveting the planes, I did in all my career. I got promoted from police officer to detective. I got promoted from detective to lieutenant. I became the night shift commander. Okay, I had a great retire there. And as I was winding down there, again thinking, okay, I'm going to retire. Geez, Lord, what am I going to do with myself now? I can't just sit. I'm not that old yet, decrepit. I get a call from Ed Quayle at Hilbert College. And he says, hey, I hear you're thinking about retiring from the PD. I says, yeah. I said, I've got a little over 20 years. I says, it's time to move on. Well, I got this adjunct position opening up in criminal justice. Would you like to come and try it out? Well, I said, you know, Ed, I already got my retirement job set up. I'm going to teach 20 hours a week to the police recruits, which is something I've been doing part-time anyway. He said, well, come and teach one summer class. Yeah, I don't know. They don't stand up. They don't salute. You know, they go to the academy. They're all at attention until I tell them to sit down. And he says, well, come and give it a try. Okay, so here we go again. Well, Lord, yeah, I don't know. You know, point me in the right direction. I'll give it a shot, and we'll see what happens. So I have a summer class, CJ 101. Ooh, how exciting is that? Okay. And I'm still working midnights, finishing up. It's summertime. I'm going to retire the 1st of September. And I come to class. Nobody knows what I do for a living. They just think I'm some lady teaching them CJ 101. So I come in and we'll talk, and we'll talk about things in the textbook and the lost things, and everybody's, oh yeah, she's okay. So one night I get tied up in a fatal vehicle accident. And I'm looking at my watch, I'm waiting for the ME to come out, I'm waiting for my crash reconstruction guy to come out, I'm waiting for the photographer, and it's getting closer and closer to 9 o'clock. I'm supposed to be done at 7:30. So I would have time to go home and change, and then come to Hilbert and look like the average citizen. So it's about 20 to 9 when everybody finally gets there. I turn it over to the ME, I get one of my officers there, I says, the day supervisor's coming in, here's everything, I'm leaving. Jump in the patrol car, drive back to the station, jump in my car, and off to Hilbert College. Okay? I walk into the class, I'm in full uniform. And I have 10 kids going like, okay? And they're looking like, what? Is that same lady that was here all this time? And I says, okay guys, this is what I do for a living. I am a shift commander, I'm a patrol lieutenant. And they're like, really? And I'm going like, yeah. Oh my God, so tell us some stuff about what you do. So now it's like, oh my God, she knows what she's talking about. It's not she's reading it out of the book. She does this for a living, how cool is this? So after the summer class, apparently Ed Quayle gets these glowing records, those evaluations you guys fill out? It's like, oh my God, that cop lady was so cool, she's so cool, we had such a great time. Okay, so he says, geez, you got some really nice evaluations. Wouldn't you like to teach in the fall? Come over here. And I'm going, yeah, police recruits, more like I want to do this. So whenever I'm not sure, I always ask the Lord. I says, Lord, point me in the right direction. You've given me everything. You've helped me through so many things, good and tough and unbelievable. Which way to go? Do I go to Hilbert College, or do I go to the police recruits? And I talked to Mom, and I said, Mom, what do you think? She says, you're praying, aren't you? I said, yeah, I can. I said, it's all your fault. You sent me to 12 years of Catholic school. You took me to Mass every Sunday, every holy day, baptism, confirmation, everything. I said, what do you want? I believe. What can I tell you? And she says, all right. She says, look and see if God's going to answer your prayer again. I'm going like, wow, you're putting the pressure on the big guy. Hey, now she wants you to show her something. So I said, okay, I'm just gonna wait for a little while and see what happens. So about 2 weeks later, I'm still debating. Now it's into August again, which for some reason everything happens to me in August. And Quayle calls me again, and he says, listen, have you thought about that adjunct job? And I said, yeah, you're not really. He says, well, I need somebody to teach like 3 classes. I said, you told me 1. Well, we lost somebody, can you do 3? And I'm going like, yeah, okay. He said, I really, really need you. And I knew Ed Quayle for a million years. Ed Quayle, the guy that retired, not Richard, was the zone commander when the troopers' barracks was in the town of Orchard Park, and I was a midnight police patrolman. So we kind of knew each other pretty well. And he's saying, you know what? He says, I could call other people, but I'm calling you. I know that you're the person for this job. And I said, how do you know? And he says, I don't know. He says, but when I woke up today, he says, I had to call somebody, and your name was the first on the list. And I says, you did it again, didn't you? Okay, you did it again, you're telling me to go. So I did take the job at Hilbert. I have been here 17 years. I started with criminal justice. In 2005, Ed got a hold of me again. He says, guess what? I'm going, oh, I don't know. Okay, he says, we got a lot of kids in CJ, and they're all like, I want to be crime scene investigator. How can I learn how to do all that stuff? He says, you did all that. Yes. We're going to come up with a forensic science program. I said, we are? Yes, you are. Okay. All right, so me and Ed Quayle and a few other people got together, a couple guys that are long gone already from Hilbert, and we came up with our forensic science program. And it was like, okay, if this doesn't fly, they're going to be pointing, Hobie, you screwed this one up. All right, so our first semester we had 29 majors. Oh boy, this ain't looking good. 29 students in the program. I can see it coming now. Okay, sister's going to be going like, what did you do? Because sister was president at that time. Okay, she's going like, yeah, okay, maybe not so much we didn't want to do this. Okay, that's it, yeah. Second semester we were up to 100. Right, the program took off, everything worked out. 17 years later, I am here. I love my students, I love Hilbert College. And I think that everything I told you tonight, and you may say, oh yeah, she's way over there. I really think that God has sent me to every place I've ever been. I think He's given me every job. I think every challenge or what I considered a tragedy in my life, even though it happened, He always gave me the strength or the person or something to get past it, to move on and say, okay, I still have things that I can offer, things that I can do. So I'm here helping my students. I love my students. Sometimes not so much. Okay? When, I have one student. She's not here because I would point her out. I had a flip phone for years. Ever. Okay? Hello? What do you want? Thank you. Goodbye. Okay? No emails, no text messages, no nothing. Okay? Don't text me. I will not type on this thing without a keyboard to give you a message. So last Christmas I bought an iPhone. Big mistake. 3:09 a.m. One of the members of our club is stressing about something, so she's deciding she is going to text me and email me at 3:09 because she can't sleep. I'm up at 5 every day. I hear the phone going ding, ding, ding. I says, 3:09, this must be an emergency. Something's going on, right? Okay. What? And I'm reading these text messages. And it's all about stuff that we don't have to do for like a week. Okay, you're all stressing about this club thing and this date and this event. What are you doing up at 3:09 in the morning? Okay, so needless to say, no, just turn the phone off at night. That's my story. Basically, I think I've talked long enough for Jeff. Tony, you gotta talk. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I will answer them the best that I can. I try to be honest. Now you know more about me than probably most people I ever worked with through the last 1,000 years. Now you also know I'm old.
A round of applause for her. You want to stay? Sorry. You guys want to ask some questions while we got you up there? Feel free to raise your hand. I'll be there.
Trying to sneak away. Look, no questions. You have a question?
Yes. What's your favorite class?
Probably the seminar, because I get to see the students at the end. Show me what you got. You've been here 4 years. Go in those crime scene rooms, tear them apart, show me that you have learned everything that we have taught you for 4 years. But I also really enjoy, well, I don't get to teach it too much anymore, FS 101. Because I see the little freshmen coming in with the look in their eye like, wow, you're a crime scene person. And I'm going, yes. I can remember, I'll tell you, I was teaching FS 101, and I had this little peanut. She's about 4'11". Her name is Rosie Hilbert. Okay? And she comes in, and she's in there, and we're talking about fingerprints. And I said, and no two people in the world have identical fingerprints. And Rosie's hand goes up. And I says, yes. I have a twin sister, and we have exactly the same fingerprints. I says, no, you don't. Yes, we do. Okay. I know Rosie's mother because she is a detective in the town of Amherst. And I says, why don't you go to Mom, take your sister Betty, who I also know, let Mom fingerprint you and bring me the cards and show me they're exactly the same. Okay, I will. All right? A week later, she comes back with 2 sets of fingerprint cards. I said, what's the matter? You were right. I said, okie dokie. I am very proud of Rosie. Since that time, I had the honor of becoming her godmother. I went to Washington because Rosie is one of these hard-working, crazy fools like me. Rosie started out with the Border Patrol. She worked there a couple years. She became a Secret Service agent, got stationed in Washington. Last June, she graduated from the ATF Academy. She is now an ATF agent in South Carolina. So anything is possible, from the fact that she was this high telling you about the fingerprints to the fact now that she's arresting the bad guys. So there, I know, I love all my students. Yes, yes, no, yeah,
What
okay.
would you say is the greatest change that you've seen over your career regarding forensic technology?
Oh my God, there's been so much.
Enlighten us.
Oh. Changes. Okay, I'll give you one example. In 1980s, okay, detective, all right, we get a thing from the FBI. You can use super glue for fingerprints. What? Super glue? Will you put it on the fingerprint? How do you do this? Okay, so they're sending you instructions. So this is how bad it was. We went and bought a little aquarium. We went over to Walmart, got some super glue that you buy like in a little tube, and it says put it on a wet cotton ball, put it on a coffee cup, seal the aquarium with evidence in it, and wait. Okay, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Is anything going to happen? Hell, I don't know, maybe we did it wrong. About a half hour later, on the evidence, oh, there's white fingerprints. Holy crap, it does work. Okay, now, how do you guys do it? Bam, bam, in the bag, 2 minutes later, ta-da, got it. Okay, Sino shot, we have the hot shot packs, but it's changed so much. Typically we have all the alternate light sources. We now have things where you can put your finger on, and they basically scan your finger and find out who you are. Things like touch DNA coming to play now. With forensics, it's constantly, they're always coming up with new ideas, new things, saying like, wow, this is like, okay, we found a new way to do this. Years ago, luminol was the standby to find blood. Okay, we had to make the room all dark. Somebody put blood on the rug. Okay, wipe it off. Okay, ready? Turn on all the lights. Oh, look, there's a blue spot there. There must have been blood. Then they came out with leucocrystal violet. Oh, this is really cool. We can use it, and it doesn't have to be in the dark. Oh, look, blue. There was blood there. Now we have something called Blue Star. In the light, as good as luminol, and I don't have to do anything. Just spray it and watch. Look at that. There was blood there. So it changes constantly. There's always coming up with new, faster, better ways to do everything. And he tells our dispatcher, there's a naked man by the beer cooler with a harpoon. Now this comes across the police radio, and I'm going, did I just hear that? I better start driving that way, just in case. So I pull up, one of the other officers pull up, and you can look through the windows, and here's the counter, and here's the clerk. He's hiding behind the counter. I said, this never looks good. So me and the other officer walk in, clerk's pointing by the beer cooler, and we walk in, and here he is, stark naked. He's got this big bamboo pole in his hand. It's not a harpoon, it's just a bamboo pole. And he is cooked. And he's like, hey. This is going to be fun. I go, hi, how are you? Hi. What you doing? Okay. I says, what you got in your hand? In my hand? I don't know. Okay. Why don't you put that down? Okay. He puts the stick down. So the minute he puts the stick down, he also say we grab the guy. Took him into ECMC. Like, okay, I don't know who he is, where his clothes are. He has no ID and he has no clothes on. We've come to find out, he got some LSD from somebody. He came all the way from Detroit for the concert. Apparently bought some drugs from somebody, got whacked out, had no clue where his clothes were, where his friends were, or anything else. Spent, I guess, most of the day at ECMC in the psych ward till they finally figured out, where he was from and he could be lucid enough to tell them his name. But yes, we always used to have fun. Yeah, we had a naked lady one time too, trying to buy beer at 4 a.m. Okay, and they always go to that one 7-Eleven, and it's like, you're okay. And some lady just came in to try and buy beer. I said, oh, and it's after hours? No, she's naked. And she just got in her car and she drove down the other road. And I'm going, oh, okay. About 2 minutes later, I hear one of the officers, Lieutenant! And he could always tell if there was a problem because their voice would crack on the radio. What? I think I found her. Okie dokie. Now he's got the car stopped. He's not going to go up to the car. No, she's naked. I'm not that. No. All right, so I go up there and walk up to the car. Okay, she's got the window closed. Tap on the window. Got her nose up against the window. I said, hello? Roll the window down. Window down. Press on the button. Hi, how are you? I'm fine. Okay, where are you going? Home. Where's home? Chicohana. No clothes. Nothing, okay? He said, yeah, I know, it's my job. Come on out of the car, honey. Okay. She was so drunk. Okay, we took her back to the station, tried to process her, but she's like, they have like legs that they won't hold. We're just gonna keep her a moment, give her a rein. She's so drunk, she doesn't want to put, we had like the orange jumpsuits for them while they're incarcerated. She won't put it on. She's still drunk. The judge comes in at 9 o'clock in the morning. She said, give me a towel. Okay. So she gets arraigned in a towel. Now you gotta picture this. I'm on one side, the officer's on the other side. She's here in a towel, and the judge is looking at the three of us like. Why is she in a towel, Lieutenant? She wouldn't put on any clothes. And what did she get arrested for? DWI. When? About 1 a.m. Okay. ECMC, goodbye. Okay, mental health law, goodbye. But yes, if you get into criminal justice, every day is an adventure. You just never know when it's going to be. Anything else? Yes, Emily?
What are some of your hobbies?
My car. Okay, I am a Corvette person. I am on my 7th one. Okay, yes, that's, this is, when you work for criminal justice and you retire, you get a pension. So I get this nice check the first of every month that pays for my toys because Hilbert College couldn't afford them, trust me. That's what they pay me. So basically, I have an older one now. I have a 1982, which is a show toy. It's got about 22,000 miles on it, so it sits in the garage and I polish it and then I drive it to the shows and win a trophy and I drive it back. I bring it to school too. I have some of the kids in it. So yes, I like that. I can cook, but I don't like to. There's only me and dog, so it's like lean cuisine goes in the microwave. We're happy. Okay, he eats with buffalo. Other than that, I enjoy stuff at school. That's probably my hobby. Just working with the students, we'll be in the club advisor doing whatever I can to help them. They had chicken barbecue this weekend. Yay, we did a